Well, howdy there, folks, and welcome into today's video. We're about to get into 7 stocks. Yes, 7 stocks that I think have the potential to go up between 50% and 100% over the next, not 9 years, over the next 9 months. And we're going to get into specifically what's going on with these stocks on, why are these stocks going to go up so much over the coming, let's say 3 quarters essentially. And we're going to get into that. I'll show you kind of the details around this. In regards to these stocks, 2 of these I'm invested in, 2 of them, the other 5 I am not invested in. So yeah, we'll get into the kind of the details, what's going on here. If you're thinking about a stock price short term, it's very important that the sentiment is right? When I invest in stocks, I'm always investing for the long term personally, and that's why a lot of these stocks I'm not going to play, but I can't deny the fact that a lot of these stocks are probably going to go up significantly over the next 9 months for very specific reasons, and a lot of what that has to do with is sentiment. And the sentiment around these stocks is about to change massively for the better, essentially. Sentiment means the feeling around a stock. When I invest in a stock, it's usually about revenue growth, and it's about what their net income could be in future years and what their total TAM is and things like that. But that type of stuff, that doesn't move a stock price in the short term. That's a long-term stuff, and that's what I look at and I acquire shares of a company. If you want to talk about moving a stock price in the short term, usually you either have to get the sentiment to change in a massive way, or just the whole market goes up in a significant manner, okay? So yeah, hope you guys enjoy this as always. If you're new here, I'm Hadami. If you're not new here, I'm Jeremy, okay? So let's get into this, guys. Hope you enjoyed as always. And by the way, get yourself some free stocks from Moo while they're still giving those out. It's exclusive, guys. And that baby's gonna end, so get them while they're hot, okay? It's check out pinned comment down there. UAL, first one up here, United Airlines. So this is a company I think is about to, or a stock price, I think that's going to have a great next 9 months, essentially. So if you didn't know, travel's obviously been down in a massive way for the last 2 years. I think everybody that's been in, knows what's going on in the world over the last 2 years knows that, okay? And so this stock used to be a, $80 to $100 stock. Even before that, it used to be a $60 to $80 stock. So anywhere between $60 to $95 where the stock used to be at, right? But for the last number of years, the stock has been just ever since Rona happened, it's been a $20 to $40 stock roughly, right? And that's just kind of been where it's floundering. It had one good little period where it went up there to about 60, and it's been down ever since. But sentiment around the travel industry is about to flip in a massive way, in my opinion. And this is obviously going to benefit a company like United Airlines in a massive way, especially with the sentiment around a stock like this. And if you look at the Google Trends data for airline tickets, this is ever since Rona, right? Basically, ever since Rona started, we recently have climbed to the highest we have been at in years. You have to go back to 2019-ish, right, to see periods where airline tickets, for instance, on Google Trends was higher. So the fact is, all the airlines out there are likely going to have a massive sentiment change over the coming quarters, and they're likely all going to report very nice numbers. And I can tell you, all the airlines are they have jacked up prices a lot. Some of that is due to fuel costs, but some of that will be disguised as fuel costs. But what they'll end up doing essentially is they're going to end up making more profit than really the fuel cost is costing them in the end, right? I asked my wife, I said, if you were to type in Google, let's say you want to travel somewhere and you want to fly somewhere, what's the number one search term you would, search? She said flights. I think it got her excited at first. Maybe she thought we were about to go somewhere. And I was like, no, we ain't going nowhere, man. I've been buying the dip. I ain't got no money to go anywhere. You got to be kidding me. You got to be flipping my flapjacks. I was like, no, I literally need this for a video. I was probably disappointing to her, but whatever, okay? But the search term flights on Google Trends is once again at the highest it's been in years, and I don't see this slowing down. I think as we get closer and closer to summer, it's going to continue to spike up, and we're going to be at levels above where we were at in 2018, 2019. Also, keep this in mind, okay? A lot of the biggest companies in the world, a lot of the big tech companies, the Apples, the Googles, those sorts of companies are all going back to the office this spring. They've already announced it either partially or fully. International travel is going to continue to open up more and more throughout 22. And so I think this is going to be obviously a very beneficial thing to, let's call it the airline industry. If you look at something like international flights, we are now at the highest we have been since Rona started, essentially. So this is great news. And for a company like UAL, very beneficial, okay? It's also going to benefit this one. This is why this is a second stock up here. AAL, another one that's been hit extremely hard. AAL is going to be, a sentiment changer in a massive way for all those trends I just showed you there, essentially. But I mean, this is a stock that is just been awful. I mean, literally just awful. I mean, this was a stock that was, $40 to $60 in the past, roughly, right? 40 to 60 range. And then as soon as we started creeping up on Rona, I mean, the stock just obviously dropped in today. This is a $16 stock roughly. And I see a massive sentiment change and a massive change in their numbers coming over the next 3 quarters. And so this is one I look at, and these type of airline plays, UAL, AAL, it's hard for me not to see these babies going up like 50 to 100% over the next, essentially 9 months or so. So yeah, those are not plays I get in because I don't get in like short-term plays. That's just not me. And in airlines, at the end of the day, they're kind of more swing plays, and that's not my specialty. Although I think these are going to be big money makers, it's a kind of a distraction for me personally. So I don't look to play it, and I know it's very attractive, right? But I'm also in a lot of other stocks that I think are going to do tremendous over the next 9 to 12 months as well. So, but yeah, those two, very, very interesting, okay? Next up, this is a stock I am personally invested in my dividends only account. This is Wynn Resorts, all right? This is a stock that's under $80 here today. At the Rona highs, the stock was $136. Prior to that, it was about $195 roughly. Here today, the stock's $79. Recently, it's been just kind of in a troubled area because it's travel related, right? And Macau's been shut down and things like that. For Wynn, if you look at a search term like hotels in Vegas, it's been climbing very, very high recently, right? Among the highest we've seen in years. I mean, you look at this Google Trends data. There's only a few time periods over. This looks all the way back to 2004. Okay, there's only a few time periods since then where it's been higher than it is right now. And just wait, a lot of people like to come to Vegas, obviously in the summertime, right? When the pools are open and it's fun and all those sorts of things. So, summer's crazy in Vegas. And, although it's hot, let's be honest, like most people love to go to the pool. They love to go to do indoor stuff, the clubs, those sorts of things. Anyways, you're in the casinos and it's like you don't even care if it's hot out, right? And so I think this is a trend that's going to go crazy over this summer. Remember, people have been cooped up in their homes for 2 years now, roughly. A lot of people haven't been traveling. And with all the mask mandates going away and those sorts of things, it's going to be a huge benefit, right? But the risk, I will say there's a bigger risk for Wynn than like the airlines. And I got to say, for a short-term play, I actually think the airlines are actually a better play than actually Wynn is. And the reason being is this Macau situation. This is a wild card. So Macau's been kind of, I don't want to call it closed up, but it's been very, very tough to travel to Macau from certain regions and certain areas. And so this has been a huge holdback on Macau. Now, if they ever relax that, Macau's going to boom like crazy. But this is kind of the risk there is when do they take that away? Now, if they take that away, a lot of these restrictions, oh my gosh, like Wynn's like, boom, that baby's going to fly to the moon. But you're kind of counting on this Macau situation to get better. I am fully confident, okay? Fully confident Vegas is going to be insane this summer. Like max occupancy for pretty much the entire summer or like all the properties. I think Wynn's going to put up some crazy numbers this summer from the Vegas properties, even the spring as well, the spring quarter as well. But this is the issue. This is the issue with Wynn. It's a wild card. It's almost like a call option on what happens in Macau. Because as soon as they take off all those restrictions, oh my gosh, the Chinese been just sitting at home making money. They're ready to spend some money, man. And Macau's going to go crazy when that happens. But that's an issue. That's a huge issue. And that's something you've got to understand the risk going in if you're playing that one from any short-term perspective. The great news for Wynn is, even if it's a long-term hold, anytime you can buy a Wynn under $100, it's a great price for a long-term shareholder, right? And usually, when Wynn's getting over 200, it's usually the time to maybe potentially cash if you're looking at it from that perspective. But under 100 is always a great deal. So Wynn's looking good. Next one up here, Hawaiian Airlines, HA. This is definitely one that has some massive room for upside, and one that I could see going up 50 to 100% over the next, let's call it, few months, okay, over the next 9 months or so. This one's obviously $18 here today. Used to be a stock that was anywhere from $30 to $60 roughly. That's where it used to be at. And another one that's been obviously devastated because travel, right? And travel to the Hawaiian Islands. Well, I can tell you that's about to change. If you look at a search term like flight to Hawaii, it's looking pretty darn good. And I see that getting better and better and better as we get more and more of the summertime. Hotels in Hawaii, if you look at a search term like that, we are the highest we have been. Just about the highest we have ever been for that search term, hotels in Hawaii. So look for Hawaii to be packed this spring and into the summer and probably into the fall time of this year as well. So that is going to be something that benefits Hawaiian Airlines in a massive way, because there aren't many folks that fly into Hawaii, and Hawaiian Airlines, I don't want to say they have a monopoly on the industry, but they're, let's call it the biggest player in that. And so if you're thinking about Hawaii, Maui, all those islands being really busy this spring, summer, fall, and Hawaiian Airlines putting up some massive numbers and the sentiment shifting there, Hawaiian Airlines is going to be that type of play. So that one's definitely a stock I look at, and I think that's going to be a big mover over the next 9 months, okay? Next one up here, CCL, okay? I got a history with CCL. So if you don't know about my history with CCL, this was a stock I started buying right before Rona started. It was a super attractive dividend stock, and it had kind of been falling to like $40, 40 something a share. And I started buying the stock, right before Rona started. Like the worst time, like it was horrible luck, like literally the worst luck in the world when it comes to like buying a stock was, and that's the way it works in the stock market sometimes. Sometimes you're going to have great luck, and sometimes you're going to have bad luck. And for me, I started buying this stock right before a once-in-a-100-year pandemic. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, we're going to close down the world economy and we're closing down all the cruise ships. And it's like, really? I just invested in the stock and this happened, seriously. And so next thing you know, I ended up cashing somewhere out in roughly here. I don't remember specifically where it was, and took my money and moved those to better places for my money, essentially, which it was, because Carnival hasn't done that much since that time. It's a $19 stock here today. And the reason being is they just haven't been able to cruise in any significant manner. But all that's going away now, and so Carnival Cruise is likely going to go on a boom run again into $30+ a share. Does it get back to its heyday of $70 plus? Ooh, boy, I don't know, okay? I don't know about that, maybe in future years, but I don't know if that's happening anytime soon. But is it out of the stretch of imagination to imagine the stock goes to $30 a share and the stock goes 50% plus, or goes to like the 38? I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility at all, with the cruises being opened up more and more and more, right? So CCL should be a profit machine. Obviously, fuel cost is something that's going to hurt them, but they're going to likely just end up raising ticket price, right? Now, if you look at something like cruise to Mexico, it's gone through the roof very recently, right? And the thing with this trend is, especially when you see dots like that, it's likely going to continue to skyrocket over the coming months. So I don't see that slowing down anytime soon. If we look at a search term like Carnival Cruise, right? Huge spike up recently. There's a lot of people that are looking to go on cruises. The travel sector is just going to be in a massive boom time, in my opinion, as the world opens up more and more. Mask mandates go away. All this stuff goes away, right? This is an industry that's due for a massive sentiment change and massive change in their numbers. And so a lot of people searching Carnival Cruise, looking to go on cruises now. That's great news. Princess Cruises, same exact thing, a big comeback here. And that still has a ways to climb back to get back to normal. Princess Cruises, by the way, is owned by Carnival Cruise Line. They actually own several different cruise operators. And every single cruise operator out there, pretty much, cruises in general, all those terms have come back very strong, and they're not showing any signs of slowing down. If anything, they're speeding up. So CCL, I got to say, that's one of those stocks that you just, if you're thinking about the numbers they're going to be putting up over the coming quarters, getting back to profitability and like really nice numbers, that's going to happen over the coming quarters. And the biggest thing is that sentiment change. That's going to be the biggest thing to kind of move those stocks, in my opinion. Next one up here, Airbnb, right? If we're talking about the travel sector getting back on its feet again, Airbnb is going to benefit massively from that. As a matter of fact, they might benefit more than anybody, especially for the younger generation. This is the go-to for a lot of folks out there, Airbnb. They went public at a pretty bad time, in my opinion. They went public, if I recall, it was 2020, which just, it wasn't a good time, but it was what it was. When you're doing an IPO, when you're doing a go public situation, you're planning that out a lot of times, months in advance, if not years in advance. So you can't really choose when you go public. They went public at almost the worst time possible. But when it comes to Airbnb, I can't deny that this is a company that's going to be in a great place. Look at the search term Airbnb. It's flying high, and it's not showing any signs of slowing down. And as we get closer to the summer, now that it's the first day of spring. Welcome to spring, by the way, everybody. I don't see that search term slowing down. If anything, I see it going to pretty much record highs for Airbnb. So they're a direct beneficiary, and their business model is pretty darn sweet. It's an asset-light business model. They don't carry the assets. It's not like a big hotel chain. It's not like a Wynn, right, where Wynn actually owns the hotels, and that's cool because those are worth a lot of money, right? Billions of dollars, but it kind of like is a slowdown for you, right? It's kind of like you got all this money tied up in these properties. Airbnb is just so asset light. It's basically just software doing their thing, right, and running this business model. So everybody else is the one that actually has the assets. So it's phenomenal. It's a brand that people know all over the world, and it just continues to get bigger. And so I think that's one of those other companies that, as travel gets bigger and bigger and folks are looking to go places, Airbnb is one that definitely benefits in a massive, massive, massive way. Now, I think this is an important point to make because a lot of these stocks are travel stocks. We got one last stock that's not a travel stock to get into. You notice I got the Republican Democrat thing there, okay? And this is important to understand about the travel industry is if you think about this logically for a minute, right? We've got midterms coming up in November. Now, the Democrats, I don't know how, I'll be honest, the midterms aren't looking great for them, okay? So when it comes to the Democrats, they honestly need this economy to be back open again. They need the vibes right if they want any chance to have a chance in those midterms, essentially, right? And so they need to have travel be open this summer. They need to have the good vibes. They need to have it feel like life's back to normal. If people are in lockdowns, or I don't even want to say lockdowns, but all these mask mandates and all this stuff, right? And it's limiting the economy, it's going to be a disaster for them in the midterms. It's already looking bad, but it would be worse, okay? Now, on the flip side, the Republicans, they don't like any of those mask mandates and any of that stuff anyways. So they're not for that. So basically, we have two sides that are going to, even if hypothetically Rona numbers start going up again, right? Even if that happens, I don't think either political party is going to really push it as an agenda. I don't think either one. Republicans never wanted to push this, and Dems, I don't think they're going to push it at all because they need those votes in midterms. And so that's a very important part I just brought out there. If you're thinking about travel being limited in any meaningful manner, okay? So that's just something to keep in mind there. So yeah, the travel stocks could go on some pretty epic runs over the coming months, okay? Next one up here, BYND, Beyond Meat. This is one I'm personally invested in. Not a major position for me, but it is a six-figure position. Now, first thing I want to show you guys with Beyond Meat, BYND, it's already started its run. It's already up 34% just in the past 5 days. So the run's already started, but I think it actually has a lot more to go this year, essentially, okay? And the reason being is Beyond Meat has a pretty extraordinary thing happening to them this year that doesn't usually happen with stocks in general. It's a very rare occurrence, but whenever this happens in a given year, almost always you see the stock price go on kind of a beast run, essentially, right? And so if we look at Beyond Meat's 2021, it was a disaster year for Beyond Meat. Horrible year. It's like one they should forget, right? And that's one of the main reasons this stock got absolutely obliterated. If you look at the fourth quarter, revenues went down. If you look at the full year, revenues were only up 14%. That's horrible for Beyond Meat. They had super tough comps they had to comp against, and they didn't have really any major deals come in 2021, right? At the very end of the year, they had the McDonald's deal start to come to fruition, right? But that was at the very end of the year. Now they got the McDonald's deal, which from my understanding, the sell-through is pretty darn strong there. Plus, their brand exposure is in a meaningful way again. They got the KFC deal they did recently that got them a bunch of brand exposure. The McPlant, as that one's more successful, that will get them a bunch more brand exposure. And the comps they comp against this year are cake. I mean, absolute cake, okay? And so what's going to end up happening with Beyond Meat is it's going to be a company that has the growth reaccelerate, okay? 20 analysts cover this stock. Beyond Meat's expected to have almost 27% revenue growth this year. I don't think there's any reason why they shouldn't be able to hit that easily. And the first quarter comp is cake, 4%. 4% revenue growth, that's all expected there. And so this is a reacceleration. When you go from 14% to now you're expected to grow like 27%, that's what you call a reacceleration of growth. And that's very rare that ever happens to companies. Usually what happens is, let's say you grow 14% a year, the next year you grow 10%. The next year you grow 7%. The next year you grow 5%. It's very uncommon to grow 14%, then all of a sudden the next year you're growing 26%. That's phenomenal. And whenever that happens, the sentiment changes in a epic way, okay? But not only that, analysts have to start modeling their numbers different, but a lot of them want to see you put up the numbers to be confident to change their modeling and start promoting the stock again, essentially, and saying, this is a good stock to buy, essentially, okay? And so Beyond Meat, BYND, the run's already started, but is it crazy to think Beyond Meat goes back to $75 or $100 a share over the next 9 months? I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility at all when I see the sentiment changing and the fundamentals changing much for the better there. So I think Beyond Meat is actually in a really, really, really good spot, okay? So hope you guys enjoyed this as always. Thanks so much for joining me as always, guys. And also, we got the most insane, awesome email newsletter in the world. It's Hungry Bolt. Check it out. It'll be pinned comment down there along with the Moo link as well. And basically what it keeps you up to date with is all the biggest news in the stock market, crypto. I got Colin Dieter write that every single day, customized. It's pretty dang awesome. Okay, so check out pinned comment for that and your free stocks from Moo. Much love. Let me know if you own any of the stocks. I would love to hear from you as always, and have a great day.